in both movies, I Am Malala and Hotel Rwanda. So to start off, this is how violence impacts the lives of the people in Hotel Rwanda. So this film consistently looked at the two ethnicities, the Hutu and the Tutsis, and it was about the genocide that was occurring between the two of them. So in the beginning, it was common to see people pull out their identification card, and it stated like if they were Hutu or Tutsi. And if it was found out that they were Hutu, then they were discriminated against. And then the Hutu president died, and then the roles kind of reversed and the Hutu took over. And so Paul, he was the leader of the hotel. He had a strong desire to take Tutsis in because they were being asked to give the Hutu leaders all that they had in order to have some of their other Tutsis from being killed. So basically all of the Tutsis were really scared for their lives and they needed to find somewhere to stay, so that's why Paul was taking them in. And it made people live in constant fear that something was going to happen to them or their loved ones. And at one point in the movie, Paul told his wife and his kids to jump off the roof if he didn't come back for them. So that just goes to show how serious this danger was. And most of the time, little or no proof would need to be given. They would just murder them as soon, if they found out that they were Tutsi, they were just murdered on the spot. There was gun violence and many unarmed, defenseless people, they were targeted. And there was even one point Paul was driving to get alcohol and the car that he was in was going directly over a bunch of dead bodies. They couldn't even feel the road. It was just a whole bunch of dead Tutsis. So then this is how violence impacts the lives of the people in I Am Malala. So this is a pretty simple answer. The violence begins with just Malala herself. She and some other classmates were all shot and wounded. She openly speaks about where they were sitting and where on their bodies they were wounded. And it took Malala a significant amount of recovery, and she was worried that she would never be able to learn again. So even schools that had women in it could be destroyed just because they were trying to be educated. So the Taliban created a lot of fear for the people of Pakistan. They were not violent at first, but at one point they became very, very violent. They burnt all of the things that people were watching in their homes and basically said and went against their word. And Malala did state that she was worried that even during the night, the Taliban would come in and murder her and her family. So how is violence such as in genocidal events related to refugees? So violence obviously causes refugees danger. They're the most likely ones to receive the violence and to be discriminated against. So in Hotel Rwanda, it was clear that those who were staying in the hotel were scared for their lives of what the Hutu could do to them. In Malala's case, she explains how most girls who are refugees are so incapable of receiving an education, and it impacts them severely. So most of the time, due to the violence, these people are forced to leave their hometowns to escape it, and they obviously want to stay in their hometown, but they have to avoid the danger. So once they move to the new place, a lot of the times they feel unwelcomed in their new places. So this is prejudice in both movies. So in Hotel Rwanda, they refer to the Tutsis as cockroaches. So this is literally dehumanization. And there's so much prejudice against the Tutsis, and they dehumanize them so intensely. And then below, I found this thing on Prezi, and it was just quotes that was basically prejudice and dehumanization against the Tutsis, which I'm not really gonna read because they're long. But in I Am Malala, she was not agreed with by the Taliban because she wanted an education. And the Taliban, they also believe that women should have no right to an education. And it says, someone as young as her has no clue what she is talking about. So that was basically about Malala, because Malala wanted to stand up for what she believed in and how girls should have an education, and people didn't like this. So what did I learn about violence and prejudice and issues surrounding genocide and refugees by watching the film? So I learned that discrimination happens so often, and it's common just because a lot of the times people join in just because they want to save their lives. They don't even believe what's going on. They just want to save their own lives. And it is common for women not to have an education in some countries, so that's why Malala is fighting for it. And Like, even her mom didn't get the opportunity to be properly educated. So if women did go to school, a lot of the times they would literally just destroy the schools because they were trying to get an education. It made it really evident to me how hard it can be to stand up for your beliefs and try to avoid violence, just like Malala did. She was injured due to her standing up. But she's helped so many people and inspired so many people just because of her story. So what do these issues have to do with you, or what could they have to do with you? There could be a time when I was forced to become a refugee. Something like a natural disaster could sweep me out of my hometown and I would be forced to move. Something as simple as a disaster could alter my whole life. I think most people take for granted how much we have and the effect that moving has on a person. There could be a time when, say, a refugee has nowhere to stay, that I could choose to let them stay with me and my family. Would I take them in, or would I leave them up to someone else? As well as that, say refugees come to my hometown. It could be important for me to make them feel welcome and not give in to the discrimination that they face. It could be someone that I know who could treat them improperly, and it could be my responsibility to stand up for them and make sure that they're safe. If I were ever to have a child in the next generation, I would need to work to protect them from genocide that could possibly come about us. Although we do not realize it, this could so easily happen, and we should take more precaution towards it. And that is all that I have.